Good. Okay, so I will welcome everybody to the regular Select Board meeting of Tuesday, May 9th. And call that to order at 7 o'clock. The one member who's not here, Heather, is celebrating her son's 11th birthday. And so she's not blowing us off. She's doing more important duties. And with that, I would seek approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any changes, amendments, or anything? All in favor of the agenda as moved, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes of April 25th regular Select Board meeting.
I'll move that. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any changes?
I couldn't find any, no. Of course, I do rely on Heather in this category.
We do, and she's got an eagle eye for them, but we're going to have to carry the mantle tonight, and if there are no amendments, then all in favor of the minutes as scribed signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
So we have carries with 5 and 1 abstention. Citizen comments. Is there anyone here to comment on anything that is not on the agenda? Hearing none. First item of business is liquor license, outside consumption and entertainment permit approval for 12 acres, doing business as Schafer's Market and Deli. Now, the town manager, but that would be Kathleen.
Right.
I think, do you know, did Ann share with you any details about this?
She did not. Is the applicant here? Maybe he'd like to tell you a little bit.
Yes, could you?
So it is not outside consumption, but it is a second-class license for purchase of beer and wine, just 12 packs, single, and then no consumption on premise. So just like it is currently, no changes.
And for the benefit of the folks at home, this is for Schafer's Market and Deli at 54 College Street.
Yes, that's correct.
It's already in business, or are you planning to open?
Closing for the property is supposed to be held on June 1st, so after that date we'll be taking over.
Oh, okay. So it's a new business.
Is that Salma's Market?
Yes, it is. That's correct.
Okay.
Oh.
That's,
It's at
I was.
Summer's Market.
Yes, it is.
I thought that the address was, but the name threw me for a loop. That's why I was looking for some more clarification.
Yeah, my wife, I'm purchasing it along with my wife.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Hope it goes well. It's a great spot.
Same here, I believe so as well.
About 20 years ago, Adam, when he was like 14, he worked for me for a few months in my store.
Yes,
So he was
learned a
really
lot
good.
from him.
Well, we'll ask you before we vote, is he a responsible person?
Yeah.
At that time, no, but now.
Good, it's an honest answer.
Cut him a little slack.
All right,
Come a long way.
So the only thing is public safety inspection status. It didn't-
Yeah, they're still outstanding.
They're still outstanding.
So you could approve it pending successful completion of those.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to provisionally approve the application for 2017 second-class liquor license for 12 Oaks LLC, DBA Schafer's Market and Deli, and authorize town clerk Ann Webster to sign it on behalf of the board, pending the successful completion of the required public safety inspections.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Well,
You missed it. We just did it.
Missed it? You're all set? I can mail it off?
Thank you.
Heather is not here, Ann, for your record.
is Joe here?
Yes. How you doing?
Good. Yes, Joe, if you could come forward here, please, and you could pull up another seat.
Frank, if you want to grab one over there.
I remember last time we saw so many ties in here.
Oh, you got three?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let him sit down.
All right. Thank you for having us. We're here to give a brief overview of Vermont League of Cities and Towns, the Property and Casualty Intermunicipal Fund. It's my understanding that you guys are entertaining the idea of going out to bid for your insurances. And so we just wanted to give you a quick overview of who we are. I'm sure you're familiar with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, but specifically the insurance trust, the passive insurance trust. So I have with me here, so Joe Damiata, I'm the interim director of the Risk Management Services Division at the Vermont League, which is the insurance side of the VLCT. I have with me Dave Sickle. He's the Deputy Director of Risk Management Services, and Fred Satink is the Underwriting Manager and Loss Control Manager for the League. And so Dave was just going to quickly, he's been with us for 29 years, and so he actually was a municipal official prior to working with us, so he's going to give you a quick background on how Passive started and who we are.
Great, thank you. Well, as Joe said, I was involved as local government finance director and assistant manager in Brattleboro many years ago, and that was in the 80s. And at that time, the insurance market was going through a cycle that was called the hard market, which is a time when insurance companies are cutting back and they're charging much higher premiums and restricting what's available for coverage. And since I was finance director in Brattleboro, I was responsible for obtaining the insurance for the town. And one year our agent came to us and said, I've got bad news, your rates are going way up, and some of the things that you had coverage for before we can't cover anymore. And so I did what good Vermont municipal officials did and still do, is I got on the phone and I called the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and I told them about my problem and said, so what are you going to do for me? And they said something like, have we got a deal for you? We're going to put you on a committee and you're going to figure out how to fix that problem. And so I was on the committee that ultimately put together the passive program. And just for some trivia, actually a select board member from Middlebury was also on that founding committee, somebody named Tim Buskey. I don't know if he's still around town or whatever, but he was also on the founding board. So the VLCT Property Intermunicipal Fund, or passive as we call it, started offering coverage in 1987, and we provide comprehensive property, casualty, liability, workers' comp programs, and just for cities and towns in Vermont. And we by now cover over 90% of the cities and towns in the state. Middlebury became a member of passive in 1991. And I thought it would just be helpful to kind of quickly run through some of the reasons that we did what we did and why, how the sort of business model evolved and what we do and what some of the advantages that we offer are. VLCT Passive is member-owned and governed. It has a board of directors, and they're all municipal officials from cities and towns that are purchasing coverage through the program. We're specialists in Vermont local government and Vermont insurance things, because that's the only thing we do, and those are the only folks we serve. One of the things that we tried to do in establishing the program is to try to reduce reliance on the commercial insurance market to avoid some of the cycles that it goes through. And the way we do that is basically the same way a large company or a large city would do, is we self-insure for most of the claims, and then buy reinsurance, which is buying insurance on the insurance coverage from larger company to protect us against catastrophic losses that are beyond our ability to finance. But because most of the claims that are paid are not the ones that are catastrophic losses, the amounts we charge our members much more reflect the cost of the claims and avoid some of the cycles and things that go on in insurance markets that have things to do other than just what your claims are. And that could be a whole nother discussion, but that was one of the purposes. Another thing that insurance companies do, and we do as well, is for many of our lines of business, claims don't get paid right away. Things are in litigation. Workers' comp claims can last for 30 years if somebody has a recurrence of an injury or something like that. So we have to determine how much money to collect up front to cover those things, and we're able to invest that money to have investment income help meet those needs over the years. In the insurance business, that's really how the insurance companies make money, is more on their investment earnings than on their underwriting. And in our case, any investment earnings are accruing to the benefit of the members, either by keeping the rates lower or often by returning money to members as credits, depending on how we do. Another thing that we do is, because we're paying the losses out of our members' funds, we try to work very hard to control the losses. And Fred will talk more about that, but we put a lot of effort into to loss prevention, working with cities and towns to have a safe workplace, to have safe facilities, and try to avoid claims before they occur, because that's money that, if we're not paying it out in claims, it's accruing back to the members. And again, all we do is deal with Vermont cities and towns, so that's our specialty and what we do, and we try to put a lot more emphasis on that than the commercial insurance industry would because of that. We also work to be your trusted partner and advisor. It's really a risk management program, which goes far beyond just being an insurance sort of thing. We want to work with you to manage your risk and coverage needs in a way that you don't have to spend the time to do it, and that you can put your energy and taxpayer dollars to meeting the needs of the municipality instead of dealing with all the insurance stuff and so on. We try to provide long-term value and stability. So our goal in life isn't to be the lowest price every year, it's to be the best value over the long term. Sometimes lower insurance premiums are fine until you find out that something isn't covered, or that the price goes up a lot because you had a claim or you get canceled or so on. We're looking for a long-term stability, stable pricing and fair pricing and a long-term best value. We're not for profit, so there's no profit motive in what we do. Again, our members are our owners, and if we have surplus funds, or what we call net position, that money essentially belongs to the members, and we're able to return money to members. We don't pay taxes, so it's much more direct. As a small organization relative to the insurance world, we have a lot of flexibility to meet the members' needs. So we will get calls from time to time about a special coverage need or special situations, and we can often develop solutions that are kind of specific to their needs, and have flexibility to change the coverage and so on. And I guess the final sort of thing is that as part of VLCT, we really are a one-stop shop. So if somebody, if Kathleen calls, Vermont League of Cities, Towns, or any of you called and had questions, we have a whole range of programs, and the person who answers the phone will get you in touch with the right person to help you address your problem, and we all talk to each other and try to work together to make sure it's as smooth and seamless as possible. So that's sort of the background, but I guess Fred will talk about some of the loss prevention things and services that we provide directly to you and other municipalities.
Well, thanks, Dave. Dave made a couple of good points. I think the two words to me are particularly important. Partners and members. Members means that you have control, you have say. Partners means that, and we think of it as if we work for the municipalities. And because of that, the services that we provide and the services that we design, they're constantly changing, they're constantly evolving to meet your needs. They're responding to statutory changes. And some of them are just great programs for your benefit, for loss control improvement, cost savings. I'm just going to kind of touch, I'm not going to go through all the services that we do because I know we'll have an opportunity later to kind of maybe some another time to dig into some details. But just for some highlights, for example, the grant program is a very popular program with our municipal members. And in fact, today we reviewed an application from the town that you're going to get your full award on a $5,000 reimbursement for various pieces of equipment for highway and so forth. So that's just an example of monies that get returned to you with a risk management benefit. The municipality is investing, you're investing dollars in your own safety, and we're supporting your efforts by providing reimbursement for grants for safety and loss prevention related items. There's scholarship training monies available to help either do group trainings, workplace harassment trainings, trainings for law enforcement folks, trainings for highway, OSHA trainings, and that's in addition to specific trainings that our loss control staff would provide to you. And again, you know, we're at your beck and call. This is just, you know, we're a phone call and email away. It can be contract review. Kathleen sent Joe or myself. We've reviewed a number of contracts over the years, and that's just something that we do to help make sure that you're well informed and making the proper decisions, and insulating, you know, your municipal risk. We've got online training available to you for free. So for highway or for law enforcement, developed some very specific coursework in the last year and a half that targets law enforcement and below 100 efforts. And we're seeing a lot of municipalities now, a lot more law enforcement use of those courses. And so that's telling me that that's actually a very valuable resource. And sometimes it's so difficult for police officers to make the time in their schedules to go to an external training, but in the course of their shift when they're doing paperwork, it's so much easier to be able to get this information at their desk when they're doing the reports and they're not on the road. And so it's a very time efficient way to get them some very important risk management information. Reasonable suspicion training for drug and alcohol testing. In fact, the whole drug and alcohol testing program we provide, we organize that, we orchestrate that. We've got the whole program set up for you. So all you need to do is, you know, register your members and have a primary contact that is the recipient of that to say who's randomly selected for drug and or alcohol testing. And that all kind of happens magically behind the scenes. So you don't really have to do a lot of work or worry yourselves about, are we complying with the federal motor carrier safety standards? It's all laid out, you know, pre-ready to go for you. And the other highlight would be the employment practices liability program. Just is a very worthwhile benefit to our members. If there's an employment practice question, a disciplinary issue, a potential termination, any kind of significant employment action, you know, rather than acting first, this gives you access to 3 free hours of legal consultation to make sure that you're following the right steps and you're following your procedures, and you get good legal advice to make sure that, you know, that doesn't have any ramifications later on that, you know, causes a loss or a claim to you, adversely impacts your employee, or adversely impacts a passive. So, you know, that's just kind of a very quick thumbnail sketch of some of our loss control services.
Great. So I guess just to wrap up quickly, we know you guys are considering going out to bid, and we just, you know, we wanted to give you some information as to who we are. We are different. We are here because of you, for you. You know, we try and act as your risk managers, which is unique. You're not going to see that when you get commercial insurance quotes. Things like Fred mentioned, if Kathleen needs assistance with reviewing insurance language, indemnification, hold harmless type language in contracts, we will do that. We'll make sure that you are buttoning those contracts up to make it, you know, to put yourself in the best position. We will help answer coverage questions for any events that you have. We'll go out of our way to find what you need. So, you know, we're not going to be the cheapest price out there. You're going to find cheaper prices that, you know, and you'll certainly get loss control services that will be sold to you as similar. They will not. We just caution you to make sure that you go through some of this and you take some of these services and see the value outside of, the low cost that you may see in the stewardship report we included in your packet. I guess just to mention those packets we handed out to you, those are some of the services that we provide from VLCT Passive. We did put a copy of a small stewardship report that shows some of the services you have partaken, and also some of the services Fred went over, and just, some flyers on that. So, we're here for you guys. If you have any questions for us, we're here to entertain them. If not, we look forward to being a part of that process. This is something that we do quite regularly, and we're very proud of who we work for and what we do.
Questions from the board?
Dave, you were mentioning, what's the catastrophic threshold?
For most of the things we do, it's $500,000.
Okay.
We have some that are lower. A lot of that process is we go out to bid quite regularly with a broker on the reinsurance, and part of that process is a balance between what is the price and how do we evaluate the price. And some of the things we're buying the reinsurance because we really don't think we want to take risk beyond that. Sometimes we're buying lower limits because, quite frankly, we get a better price and we evaluate it ourselves.
Okay.
So it's a whole process.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Brian, is it town policy to just go to bid on insurance?
We haven't gone out to bid since we joined in 1991, but it is a soft insurance market, and we have been contacted by a private insurance group that would like to bid on the town's
Okay, that's how it
book of
occurs.
business.
Okay.
And can I actually just add one more thing that I did forget? We actually we put together an RFP, a model RFP, that all of these services that VLCT provides, we included in there, so it's what you currently have. And if you're looking for apples to apples, we just recommend that you have any competing agents fill that out in full and make sure that you're getting back, if that's what you're looking for, that's, to us, that's what you have now. And, if you don't want a partially filled out document, and so you can make an informed decision based on some of the services that I know Kathleen and other town employees, utilize on a regular basis. So just throw that out there.
I think there's great value in the fact that you understand municipal business, municipal risk. I do think that we owe it to our taxpayers to at least go out to bid and get a competitive bid, especially if we haven't done one in that long. I regularly do it with my business. Doesn't mean I change, but sometimes another broker will point out something that maybe we're missing. I do think that most reputable insurance companies do a very nice job with risk management and loss control management. It kind of made me chuckle because it reminded me of the one time that the town, I have a farm just out of town, and the guy, when he was mowing the roadsides, he put the roadside mower into the dirt right near my farm, and it just sprayed dirt across a brand new tractor that was sitting there. And I had to repaint the tractor, and it blew out all the windows. It cost several $1,000s, and you denied the claim. And so I was just chuckling. You do a really good job with risk management. But I think we do appreciate the fact that you know our market well, and we'll certainly take a good, strong look at that. And we understand if it's a close call, that your expertise is important.
Yeah. Thank you, and we understand why you guys are doing what you're doing. I mean, we know you owe it to your taxpayers. So, yeah, if there's any other questions after, when you know how to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with Kathleen, we always know is it's price is one factor, but it's performance based.
Yeah.
In the risk management world, that's key. So.
Thank you. Yep.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks, Dan.
Jim, I'm keeping you right on time here, buddy.
Okay.
7:25.
I'll step right up, and I'll keep the whole meeting right on time. Hi, everyone. Here with an update on the rail bridge project, and I'll break it down into three topics tonight. One is temporary bridges, update on where we are with that process. 2 is the environmental assessment, and 3 is the relocation of Actor. So I'll take them in that order, starting with the temporary bridges. You've seen in your packet a timeline that I've developed with the project team, and that continues to be refined. I spent 8 hours in this room today with the project team during as they went through a cost and quantity reconciliation process, and the value of that to the town is understanding at a really granular level how this process is going to unfold and what the impacts are on the town. And so the more knowledge we have, I think the better prepared we can be. So I will be taking that timeline door to door in our downtown area and making sure that all of our downtown stakeholders are aware of what's coming and are prepared for what's coming. I'll be meeting with Porter Medical Center, the college, other organizations, particularly that have large numbers of employees who will be commuting through downtown during that period. But the timeline and the tasks that you supported when VTrans was here at your last meeting remain on track. Wayne is hoping to have boots on the ground on June 1st to begin the preparatory work of relocating the water line on Main Street and reconfiguring some storm water catch basins and beginning the drilling of the micropiles that will support Merchants Row and Main Street bridges. So as I learn more, I will share that with you, but we're getting very close to June 1st, and so I want to make sure that I'm out in the community and keeping folks up to date. As part of communicating information about the temporary bridges, Brian and I were interviewed by Betty Nuovo for a program on MCTV on Monday, and that's now available. In fact, I've put it up on my blog yesterday, middleburybridges.org. It's a YouTube video. It's embedded right in the blog, so residents can see, get a half hour's worth of good, valuable information about the temporary bridges and what's coming for the town. So, some more information as I have. Any questions about where we are with the temporary bridge process? Okay. There will be a temporary bridge table at the information session at the environmental assessment. So I'll segue over to the environmental assessment now. As you know, VTrans will present the results of their 4-month-long environmental assessment this coming Thursday at Town Hall Theater, our favorite venue, from 7 to 9 p.m. That will be a formal presentation. Brian will welcome the community, remind the community of the goals that the select board set out for VTrans when we reset the project this past August. And then Wayne will begin the presentation, the formal presentation from VTrans on the basically explaining to the community what an environmental assessment is, with how the process works, where we are in the process, and then they'll turn it over to a series of experts who will deliver some of the highlights of the environmental assessment, looking at areas like the impact on the town's social and economic atmosphere, on historic preservation, and some of the other kind of key issues that have come up. It's not a conventional Q&A. It's a public hearing, so there will be a court stenographer there. The purpose of the meeting is to gather public comment, and so those comments will be recorded. After the meeting, they'll be cataloged, reviewed. There'll be a written response to them, and those will be incorporated, I think, as an appendix to the final environmental assessment document. Preceding that from 4 to 6 is more the kind of interactive one-on-one Q&A opportunity for the community. The project team will set up 3 tables of information, so there'll be one on temporary bridges, there'll be one on the overall project, and there'll be one on environmental issues. So if you have specific questions about air quality on the environmental side, if you have specific questions about when's the Merchants Row bridge going to be down, when you're doing temporary, If you have other questions about the project and its impact on your property or on your commute through town, this is the opportunity to engage the VTrans team interactively one-on-one for a 2-hour period here. So again, that's from 4 to 6 p.m. At the Town Hall Theater. As a prelude to that, I wanted to point out that Angelo Lynn published in today's Addison Independent, I think, a very informative and timely update for the community on the rail bridge project. Angelo looks at the history of the project, both in terms of its initiatives and its costs, as well as the benefits that are proposed for the project, and I think in a nicely laid out 2-page spread brings the community up to date as we prepare for this environmental assessment, which is certainly a major milestone in the project. So that's where we are with the environmental assessment. As I've said before, the final step in this process will be delivering to the Federal Highway Administration a final environmental assessment document, and then a determination will be made by the Senior Environmental Program Manager at FHWA in Montpelier whether the project moves ahead or whether the project needs a more extensive environmental analysis. Okay, any questions about the EA?
Just to note that the environmental assessment is on the website.
Yes.
In its entirety, and there's also hard copies here at the town offices and at the library.
It's on the VTrans project website. It's on off the town's website. It is a 196-page document, and there's a lot of good information in there, and so you can pick and choose your areas of environmental interest, and or come to the town hall theater meeting and get an executive summary of what's in there. So.
I think it's even on the Addison Independent website, so lots of websites.
Right. Lots of opportunities to read it.
And you've got 2 microphones set aside for Heather and I?
The good news is I met with the stage crew at the Town Hall Theater because I wanted to make sure we were fully prepared. And yes, they have gone from 1 to 4 wireless mics since our November meeting. And so there are 2 that are set up and ready for use. So I look forward to seeing you all at that meeting on Thursday. And I know the project team looks forward to seeing you as well and welcoming you to their presentation. So any further questions about that? Okay, good. So Actor. So the intent was to present tonight a recommendation to the Selectboard for the temporary relocation of Actor. This would be in the period between when the installation of the temporary bridges means that Actor needs to vacate Merchants Row, and the installation of their permanent new infrastructure, which is targeted to be on the north end of South Pleasant Street, as we've talked about. And I won't be making that recommendation tonight. There are still discussions that need to take place. Kathleen organized a meeting this past week with Bill Cunningham from Actor, with Dan and Bill from the Department of Public Works. Laura is a representative from the Selectboard to Actor. Chief Hanley was there as well, and I was there too. And at that meeting, there were, I think, some differences of opinion about where Actor should be relocated. Actor would like to be relocated on the western side of South Pleasant Street. In the original, and it was the original location that was planned and that was vetted in our first public meeting, down near Cole's Flowers. Dan and Bill from the Department of Public Works would at least like the town to consider relocating temporarily to Seymour Street. This would be on the western side of Seymour Street in the parking areas, parking spaces between the exit from the National Bank of Middlebury's employee parking lot and the rail depot, the old rail depot. So we're talking across the street from Fire and Ice. Actor has significant reservations about that and the impacts on their service. Dan and Bill has some concerns about the impact on planned infrastructure work on South Pleasant Street. And so we will be meeting again this coming Thursday as a group. Susan will be joining us as well, representing the Infrastructure Committee, to work out these differences and to come up with a plan that we can jointly support and present to the Select Board. One of the challenges is that the clock is ticking. I went to VTrans last Wednesday and I said, we need a date from you by which you would like to have Actor vacated from Merchants Row because of safety concerns. That date is Monday, June 12th. The date by which they expect to start drilling mini piles underneath the Merchants Row Bridge, severely restricting traffic flow on Merchants Row, and I think that would be while there's a little bit of give there, I think that would probably be a good date to shoot for. That doesn't leave a lot of time. So there's a lot of pressure to ensure that Actor can develop a new schedule and publish it out and make sure that all their stakeholders are aware and the town can prepare for it as well. So a complicated business, as it has been for the year and a half that I've been involved in discussions on Actor, but under the pressure of having to make a decision, I'm confident that we'll make a good decision and one that will benefit the town and Actor. So, I know Jim and Bill are here. Did you want to add anything to that, my summary?
No, I think the next conversation is an important one.
Maybe just to clarify that we're talking about mid-June to when Actor could have the hub in place on South Pleasant Street. And so that's what's also adding to the complexity of this. And I think that's their point, to change the schedule a lot twice from Seymour Street from mid-June to, let's say, October, and then again, October going forward to whatever that period of time is going to be. That's the burden, so that's why it was making sense to them to just stay somewhere on South Pleasant Street. But we'll be talking about it further.
Yeah.
If we can avoid two major timetable changes, that's the goal, I think.
The best case scenario for infrastructure ready on South Pleasant Street is mid-September. Worst case scenario is Thanksgiving. So, and those details are being worked out as the engineer who's been asked to design the project, RGS out of Burlington, working with Otter Creek Engineering locally here, as they kind of work through their design plan. So on that front, once a design plan is in place, then the town will review that. And that's on a separate track from the temporary relocation. But the town clearly needs to review and approve the design plans for the north end of South Pleasant Street infrastructure.
So this is a temporary only relocation. Has there been discussion of a permanent relocation at all? And how would this fit into your?
That's an interesting question. I'm just pausing because VTrans would tell you this is a permanent relocation because they are paying for Actor to relocate once. I think it may be fair to say that from the town's perspective and perhaps also from Actor's perspective, let's see how it works on the north end of South Pleasant Street. And if it works, okay. And if it doesn't work, then other options come into play. That's kind of been the assumption all along. This is aside from the idea of a multimodal transportation center that would have the Amtrak station and the Actor station and so forth. But in the near term, I think that would be the plan.
Not an easy answer.
I mean, in other words, there's no plan to come back to Merchants Row. Is that
Not
fair
right
to
now.
say?
I think that's I think that's fair to say, and I think that a lot of townspeople might, look favorably on that from the comments that I've heard.
Well, actually, going back to when the idea first surfaced of making South Pleasant one-way, and it was one of the earlier committees, the town committees, and it was, I remember who exactly threw it out. It was like Ken Perrine and Donna and I were all there, and this idea hit us of making that work. And in fact, the location on the western end of South Pleasant was where a lot of us focused and said that made a lot of sense. It was level, it was, you could have a lane that was dedicated to buses and a lane to the vehicles. So I'm glad to see that's being entertained. What is the infrastructure work that would impact that happening, and can it not be phased?
Well, I think that's part of the discussion that we're going to have on Thursday. So there's some different projects that were meant to happen and are proposed to happen because of like water pipes and things like that, because of the work that's happening with the train bridges. So I think that's part of the discussion of what are they, do they need to happen right then, and if so, what does that mean? So it's definitely part of a big part of the conversation.
I mean, a couple of variables I see, and I can sympathize with Actor on this one, because the idea of having passengers go to one spot and then another point they're going to another, so they're basically, it's not just a shifting of schedule, but it's also the passengers themselves. The other variable in there, and I haven't heard anything on, is that is the location where if there's a fire, that's a very intense location. So the idea of having passengers, buses, and all of this activity as these vehicles are responding in is something that would be a bit unsettling.
You're talking about Seymour Street.
No, Seymour Street. That's right. That's right. So that strikes me as an element to put into the equation that one would be concerned with there. So, but anyway, I appreciate the dialogue and the direction you're going.
Yep.
I think it's useful for the select board, especially since many of you are new since early 2016. The local project management team at that time did a very comprehensive evaluation of the matrix of 17 different criteria about different locations. One of them being in front of the building.
Was it only 17? It felt like about 50.
One of them being in front of Coles, and one of them being a little closer on Seymour Street. And it was unanimous across all 6 people who evaluated it in every single individual criteria that South Pleasant Street was a superior location as compared to Seymour Street. And at this moment, from our perspective, without further in-depth discussion on Thursday, that the proposed site on Seymour Street for this temporary period of time is actually a lesser quality than the original one. So, our viewpoint is that this process has been fairly thoroughly vetted, and the reason it was ultimately suggested to move from in front of Coles up to the north end had to do with the characteristics of the neighborhood, et cetera, over the longer term. And obviously, we're talking about a shortened time period, but we all recognize that after the neighborhoods, the community have to sort of give and take on something, whether it's infrastructure projects or whatever. But there were a lot of concerns raised at that time about Seymour Street that haven't gone away, and it's not one or two. So, but anyway, we're looking forward to the Thursday discussion where we fully get that.
My gut reaction was the same. I was around for those discussions, so I'm anxious to hear what comes out of Thursdays, and I think I'll just withhold judgment until then.
Absolutely.
I need to hear it, so, yep.
Well,
Trying to be open to everything.
Yep. So I think particularly in terms of, given the timing here, that we will be back with a recommendation to the select board at your next meeting. I think that has to happen, I think, for
it to happen.
Yeah, for it to happen.
For us to if we're going to one-way a road or something, we need to.
Yep.
We need to get the gears in motion.
Absolutely. So, any other questions about Actor?
Not a question for Actor, but to one-way road, what's the time process for that?
You can do a temporary one-way road on action of the Select Board immediately.
Pretty quickly.
And that would last for 90 days.
90
While
days.
if you wanted to update the ordinance, it would take longer, but you could do the temporary. And you could renew the temporary several times as well.
Yeah.
That's what Chief
Okay,
Henry
so-
was saying last time.
He
Was
here,
gone.
yeah.
We actually are also talking about a right-hand only turn at the intersection coming off from Merchants onto Main Street.
Yes.
And we had just gone through that, and that's
that.
pretty
Yeah, the same thing.
Yeah.
much, it's the identical process, so.
Yeah, okay, that answers the question, thank you.
Before we go, though, as we're talking about this, I thought it was good to talk about, just from a Select Board standpoint, I'm looking forward to, on Thursday, hearing from everybody, and then we get to, as a board, weigh in and respond as a board. So I'm not planning on bringing my personal viewpoints and things like that to Thursday's meeting. I'm hoping that we get to vet that at our next Select Board meeting, and then as a board decide what we want to respond to V-Trans as a whole. So, and I just think it's important for us as board members to know that, so,
All part of the equation.
exactly.
Yeah, let me just make sure that that's going to work properly, because there is a 30-day review period that ends on May 26th.
We meet the night before, so I'm assuming we can weigh in with an email afterwards.
Perfect.
Just wanted
Yep.
to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we need to hear from you if we have to have an emergency Select Board meeting, if there's significant issues that come out of Thursday. I think we need to kind of see what comes about Thursday,
sure.
because we need to have come to resolution in time to have action, not still be
Right.
debating it.
Right, no,
So
absolutely.
if there's some fact-finding and questions by the Select Board, I think we need to get that done so that it's in preparation for our discussion for the next regularly scheduled board meeting.
Absolutely. Good, good. I'll alert Wayne and the team then, that, how that process is going to work.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
So, on our schedule was a potential discussion of tax increment financing. There was a note that Dave White had confirmed the House and Senate Conference Committee were supposed to be done, but I think they're actually still.
Still at it?
Yep, this afternoon,
at it.
another
I
update.
checked on it this afternoon, yeah.
The Senate House Conference Committee has not met since Friday. They are planning to meet tomorrow, which is Wednesday. It remains to be seen whether they will reach an agreement. If they fail to, TIF may be dead for this year. My understanding is that the Senate negotiators are hanging tough at no fewer than 8 TIF districts, but they could use support to keep this strong, to keep strong.
So I think the question is, do we want to weigh in, or do we want to just let them work it out amongst themselves, and then we see what the results are? And I don't mind letting them just work it out. I don't really want to get in the middle of them, but at the same time, I wasn't sure how everybody else felt.
I'm a proponent for pushing them to have at least 8, basically the Senate solution, because if they only do 2 or 3,
Right.
the chances are we're left out, because there's others that are more ready than we are.
So I think the question is, do we want to say something?
I wonder if we could simply have the names of who the House members are on the conference committee. I think that would be a useful.
Well, perhaps if we're amenable to it, Kathleen could send a note that the Select Board discussed it, and we're to those House members in supporting the Senate solution of at least 8 additional TIF districts.
I would move that.
I'll second that.
That's good.
Are there any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so if we could just send them a note, Kathleen, saying that we're supportive of the growth in the TIF districts by at least 8, so that we have an opportunity to participate. And I think it's important to say in there too that, you know, we have a project that we have discussed at the select board level that we don't see any other way of accomplishing without TIF district assistance.
If they come through with that, I think one of the important things is that we probably need to be more ready than we are, a lot faster than we had planned on, and so that will be one of the things we'll probably know by the time we have our retreat and everything else.
To discuss.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think the important part is that what their version of a project ready to go isn't necessarily where we are. And so that will be a game changer if we're going to try and be one of those 8 seats. So,
Yeah.
yep.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just, it's exciting and worrying at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Yeah,
Only go forward if we have opportunities.
exactly. I think Victor had his finger up.
Just one last, I mean, I guess also Kathleen, if you would let us know who the
Okay.
members of the, because I think in addition, individual notes could be effective, at least letting them know that we're very serious about this and
Yeah, the more they hear from, the better. I think you're right.
I think that particularly the issue, I mean, obviously, this has to show a significant improvement in the economic situation of the town, and I think we could make a fairly good argument on that, particularly with this particular project.
It would be great if you do a wonderful job of writing, and it would be great if you did
Well,
send them something in addition.
I'd be happy
If I
to
had
do
the
that.
names, I would send something as well, because I really feel pretty strongly that these are opportunities that would not otherwise transpire in many of our townships, and that to fear that it's stealing money from the school districts when it's not going to happen otherwise is, I think that's fear for fear itself or whatever.
Well, I mean, if this succeeds, there'll be more money for the schools.
Be more money long-term.
Right, right.
You know, we're looking for long-term
Yeah.
sustainability, not the short-term dollar. So,
Well, quite simply, you're not taking money away from that doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist.
But maybe this becomes, I wonder, is this an opportunity for our town planner to start to outline a strategy for moving forward? So that we can at least indicate how we plan to proceed, and I think
I think that the vote's coming imminent this week, most likely following that, then if it opens it up, then that would be a great project. Otherwise, I think she's got a lot on her plate otherwise.
I'm sure she does, but this is such a major critical item.
Absolutely.
I don't want to miss this opportunity. This thing's been sort of in various stages of start, stop for a long time, so if we can actually make this whole downtown thing move, that would be a wonderful accomplishment.
Okay, so I think we got a plan there. Do you know if Adam was still planning on coming?
Adam is planning on coming. We're running just a hair early. I did talk to him earlier today, and he said he'd be here at 7:55.
Okay, why don't we jump forward, because reappointment of Donna Donahue to the Policy Review Committee. Talked with Donna over email today, and she said that she was willing to continue, and I jumped through the computer with joy, because that would reconnect our group that was making such great progress on a very important part of the town oversight and policy. And her concern was that she's got a little tighter schedule, and she'd have to work around that schedule, and the committee is all supportive of her doing that, and excited that she's willing to continue serving. So If you're amenable to that, I would seek a
Well, if there was
motion.
ever a proverbial no-brainer, this is it. Be good to have Donna continue because she was fantastic, and so I'll make the motion to reappoint Donna Donahue as a full member of the Policy Review Committee.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great. Yeah. So Adam, we're ready for you.
All right, I hope I didn't keep you all.
No, we jumped ahead one.
Okay, good.
We were running just a little bit early.
All right, well, good for you. I'm going to keep you on that trajectory, I hope. Let's see, so I'm Adam Lucci from the Regional Planning Commission. I am working on a couple of different projects for you, and I wanted to give you an update on a couple of them and I guess propose a change to one of them. So the first one that I want to propose a change to is the Printer's Alley project. So you have a $240,000 grant from VTrans. It was originally to do work down on the river. You got it back in about 2008. It was originally to do work down on the river. You transitioned it. You were going to use it for basically the I'm drawing a blank. The building that was right next to the railroad.
Lazarus
Alley. Thank you, Lazarus Building. You found other money for that. Then we talked about using it basically for Printer's Alley, but the railroad project has now kind of subsumed that. You need to spend that money or you're going to lose it. It's federal money. It's going to go away by 2018. So Kathleen and I talked about basically what other project in town could Middlebury approach VTrans and say, hey, we have this old grant, we've done some good things and we've been able to basically take over its purpose, but we would like to repurpose it towards another project. Will you allow it to do this? And I can't guarantee that VTrans is going to say yes. I know they've been asking Jim and a couple other people, well, just let it go. If you can't use it at Printer's Alley, let it go and we'll do it. But I think there's an opportunity to put in a request to move it. I'm suggesting you move it to Exchange Street, to the Exchange Street sidewalk. So you just you've got a project in process. That street's about a mile 0.2 long or so. I think we're maybe about half a mile in or so. So there's still a long way to go on that. And I think it would be, talking with the engineer, it would be relatively easy to start another phase of that with the money that you have for Printer's Alley. So in essence, that's my proposal. Let's go ask VTrans if we can keep it and keep working on some good things and get it spent before it goes away.
That seems like a really good plan.
How far would that take us?
Yeah, that's my question.
So, let's see. You've got roughly $700,000 is taking you down to Catamount Park.
I think, Adam, you told me
It's
that it
in the
was
letter.
Manelli Road.
Yeah.
Manelli, thank you. Yeah, in the letter that we did, we put it, so Manelli Road or so.
Out to Manelli Road, yeah.
Yeah.
That would
So
be
probably almost 3/4 of the way then, around the road.
That's really taking us through the worst part of it.
So I think we can get us to, I think I can get us to right of way on that section before the funds come due in 18. So that's the proposal in a nutshell. And did you, I drafted up a letter, okay, and you shared it with them, it's in the package.
There would be a
Okay.
local match of 60,000.
Yes, you're currently,
So, last time we talked about the other grant, Heather and I had the stipulation that we were going to try and find alternative ways to fund that. It was $45,000, I think, before.
That was for a grant we were applying for.
Right, that we
were
didn't
not.
get.
That's right.
Is there money sitting there already to match this?
It was set aside as part of a allocation for downtown improvements in the capital budget.
So this is a little more, so I'm hoping that we can still try and find alternative.
Sorry, was that 60 or 16?
60. 60.
6-0.
Six. So I'm not sure if I'm hoping that we're still looking for alternative ways to fund, so.
I'm trying to understand what your point is then.
If we're matching, before we were matching $45,000, so this is an extra $15,000 that we'd have to come up with for a local match for this. And I'm hoping that we're still looking at alternative ways to fund that out on Exchange Street instead of having more money come out of capital improvements for next year.
Okay. Okay, now I understand.
It was our same thing from before, so.
I think if we can, are there issues that you project as far as getting approval on it, and what are they?
I don't think so. I mean, we did the preliminary engineering already. I asked, before I came here and made this suggestion to you, I went to the engineer and Doug Henson, and I said, Doug, you know, we've got to spend this money relatively quickly. Is this a particularly tough section of the roadway? Are there any particular constraints? You've got some steep banks going down to wetlands on that particular portion of Exchange Street as you head out toward Manelli, but he didn't think that there was anything that was a deal killer, per se.
And the money absolutely goes away in 2018 if
Yes.
we don't use it?
Yes,
We have to get to right-of-way,
we have to get it to right away. That's correct. We have to
not
get
constructed.
Yeah,
right.
but like, there's
So
no
if
way
you
we
didn't
could
do
we could
anything-
commit it to
Something
any streetscape or something like that, because
Right,
we
by
won't
the-
be to that point by 2018, is what you're saying.
Right.
By the time the railroad project is done, the money will definitely be
Will
gone.
definitely be gone.
Yes.
Yep.
So this is an opportunity to say to V-Trans, hey, we've done these other things, you know, this project's in the way. We'd like to repurpose this money to something, to a mobility, bike pedestrian mobility that fulfills the same purpose by helping Middlebury. I can't guarantee you they're going to say yes, but I know what's going to happen if we don't ask.
Right.
So,
And I'm supportive of making that change. I just want to still be conscious of how we're funding our match of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pleasure of the board?
Yeah. It actually sounds really good. Appreciate it, Adam, for that. So I'll make the motion to authorize Town Manager Kathleen Ramsey to sign the letter to Scott Robertson, V-Trans Project Manager, requesting that the remaining funds from the Printer's Alley grant be redirected to the Exchange Street Shared Use Path Project.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any final comments?
Yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
great. Thank you.
Yes.
So I have two other really quick items for you.
Go ahead.
While we're on Exchange Street, while we're talking about Exchange Street, Doug Henson, the project manager, got us the revised conceptual plans on the first two phases. Not a lot changed. We did reconfigure. There's a crosswalk in the middle, so we start on the, I'm gonna say the
East.
east
on the east
side.
side.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we were crossing over to the west side about the lumber company.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like that plan, so we decided, so we moved it. We basically accommodated them and moved the crosswalk a little closer to the town of Middlebury. That's one change. V-Trans also gave us all their corrections. They want, rather than just painting stripes over people's driveways, they want us to actually extend the path or the sidewalk kind of through the driveway, so it's going to increase the price a little bit, but it's not a substantial change. And I can't tell you why they don't want just the striping going across the driveways, but they want the permanent improvement the whole way, probably for consistency of the path, so it stays consistent along its entire use, and you don't have places breaking down on the driveways.
So will the crossover be before you get to the lumber company's parking lot?
Yes.
Okay, so it's on that south side of the lumber?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, closer to town.
Basically what everybody was asking for.
Yeah, that's actually kind of going
Now
back.
that the market is out business.
Yeah.
It's not cars parking there anymore.
Yeah, so it was in response to some of your landowners' concerns. And those were really the only changes, so assuming that they work for you, we should be through conceptual design and ready to go to right-of-way.
That's exciting.
Very good, excellent.
On the Seymour Street Pulp Mill Bridge project, we're a little bit further along. Basically, V-Trans has approved all the right-of-way documents that we have created. We are visiting with landowners next week and the following week. Next week and the following week, basically to discuss, most of them only, actually in Middlebury there are only two. Most of them are in Weybridge. All but one are only giving temporary access agreements. So we may need to go on their lawn to work within the right-of-way, or we may need to change the slope a little bit so that the sidewalk doesn't have too steep a drop-off in that area. But otherwise, we're not asking for any permanent easements other than with one landowner on the corner in Weybridge. So I'm hoping it will go quickly and easily. You can ask me where we'll be. I'm hoping we can get to construction still this season, but I'll know that in 2 weeks. It depends on how we do with the landowners. So wish me luck. Yeah.
Exciting. Got some good things going as far as making it more pedestrian friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're good projects, so thank you for letting me help you work on them.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Ally.
All right, great. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. You know what that takes us to? Check warrants.
Farhad and I reviewed the check warrants together today, and they're in order. So I move that we accept the warrant report for total expenditures amounting to $463,192.75. So I think that's really all we have. Oh, the other thing I wanted to note is that we did look at the electric bills which were in there, and we noticed some good trends with bills where some of the electric was coming down. So I don't know if managers have reviewed them or not, and it's in response to that, but it was good to see in some instances.
In response to the concern expressed last time, we have set up an arrangement with the town treasurer and department heads to review the electric bills.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you, managers.
Do we have a second?
Oh, sorry, second. Sorry, I'm just zoning out, and it's like a little bit after 8. I'm so excited. Like, wait, what's happening?
All in favor of approving the check warrants?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. Kathleen.
Okay. First, there was a failure of well 4 and an emergency purchase made to repair the pump there. Public Works Operation Director Bill Kernan reported to me that well number 4 suffered a drive failure on April 21st, which took the unit offline. He solicited quotes for replacement parts from 3 vendors, which ranged in price from $7,750 to $12,080. And Bill's full memo is in your packet, but the timing of event, as specified, as the well needed to get back online quickly, was such that the bid process normally specified by the town's purchasing policy could not be completed in time. Based on his analysis of the 3 quotes received, Bill recommended purchasing the needed parts from Pioneer Motors of South Burlington, and I approved that emergency purchase order totaling $11,438. That included not only parts, but installation of the pump. Also to note, recent contributions to the Parks and Recreation Department. The town gratefully acknowledges the receipt of the following contributions in support of Parks and Recreation programming. $200 from Cabot Creamery and Rotary Club of Middlebury, and $500 from St. Stephen's Peasant Market Outreach Grant effort. Both of those letters from St. Stephen's and the Rotary Club of Middlebury are in your packet. And Heather asked me to announce that the task force, the Economic Health Task Force survey is available online. You can find it on the town's website until Friday, May 12th.
I did it.
Thank you. Please help us out by sending the survey to your friends and neighbors, posting it online on Facebook. We'll try to reach as many people as we can. The Downtown Improvement District Commission met last Friday, and they are currently working on renewal of that special assessment district, and a mailing went out to 124 property owners in the downtown district asking for their support of the renewal. We've given them to May 17th to reply as a target date for responses. 2/3 of those people need to sign the petition to bring it to the Select Board for the Select Board's consideration. The DIDC is going to review responses received to date at its next meeting on May 25th at noon, and stay tuned for more. I have received 3 complaints about junk accumulation on neighbors' lawns from areas outside the village district. As you may recall, we have a junk ordinance which applies to properties in the district. These 3 property owners are outside of the village district, and they would like the town to take some action. There is nothing allowed by our ordinances at this point. It may be something that the Select Board wants to consider going forward in its strategic planning retreat. 2 of these people have applied to the Board of Abatement for property tax, property assessment decreases, reductions.
As a result of the
Yes.
junk? Okay.
I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be, but I just wanted to make you aware of their strong concerns, obviously. And finally, Dog Park grand opening on Saturday, May 13th. Official opening and leash cutting ceremony on Saturday, May 13th from 10 until noon. And that's it.
I hadn't even known the fencing had gone up there.
Yep. Yep.
It looks good. I was down there this weekend for the Maple Run, and you can use it now. And there's also a beautiful sweep of the community gardens just next to it. So it looks good over there.
That is it for me.
Okay, board member concerns. Laura?
Middlebury looked good this weekend, that's what I was saying. I mean, it was really fun to see all the activity that was happening in different parts of Middlebury. So in East Middlebury, we had the tree planting going on, and in downtown Middlebury at Cannon Park, we had the bike swap event, and then out on Exchange Street, we had the opening of the farmers market, and then welcomed by the area businesses, which I thought was lovely to see in the Addison Independent. I don't know who generated that, but that was beautiful. So I was really proud, to see all of that activity in Middlebury. And of course, we had the Maple Run the following day, so a lot of visitors, and we had a really successful Kelly Bow bike ride yesterday, so people could see that activity from 4 to 5 o'clock, to promote awareness of bike ped safety. So it was really a great weekend.
Noticing more than the traffic lights, more and more of the LEDs wearing out. And, you'll see on a green or a red light, you'll see a row of the lights are burning. I'm just kind of curious, what's the long-term maintenance requirement on those, and what's the expenditure we're going to be looking at
Okay.
for those?
I'll check with Dan.
I mean, it seems to me ultimately get to a point where there's enough of them are burned out that it doesn't meet a traffic light standard, so I'm kind of curious as to,
Where did you notice that?
if you go down Court Street, you'll see several of the traffic lights where they're missing LEDs.
Huh.
You you'll
From an
notice
engineer's
abandonment.
perspective.
Yeah. We
How
came
did I
across
miss
some-
that?
Yeah, how did you miss that? You saw it. You remember. Anyway, that's it.
I don't have anything this time. Oh, wait, no. There's in June, the first Sunday in June is the East Middlebury Community Picnic. Peggy Peabody would have my head. Hang on a second. You're supposed to bring a side dish. Burgers and hot dogs and beverages and cake are provided. But it is June 4th in a tent behind the Sarah Partridge Community House.
What time?
The meal officially starts at 12:30, but people come earlier around noon to chit-chat and get your name tag and sign up for the door prizes, which actually are usually pretty fun.
That's the 4th of?
June 4th, Sunday, June 4th. Yep. And all are welcome. That's it.
Okay, Farhan?
Yeah, one of my neighbors approached me and asked me, I don't know what the process was at that time. She was requesting that we install a couple benches beyond Shaw's where the senior living places are, the Middlebury Commons and stuff. And she mentioned that these older folks, when they carry groceries and stuff, they don't have a place to rest sometimes. She just mentioned, and I said I'll bring it up to the board. So I don't know. I questioned her. She said she'll pay for the bench to put there.
That never.
So I don't know how that is going to fit in.
So Kathleen will probably follow up with you.
I'll talk with Bill Kernan, our Director of Public Works Operations.
Sure.
See what-
And the other news is my wife and I have been just featured in a CCP magazine last week.
Magazine?
What was it?
Community College of Vermont.
Oh, no way.
So they did a nice story.
He's going to forward the article. Maybe you could send it to Kathleen and then we could all read it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
It
great.
would be
That's
great.
pretty cool, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
congratulations.
Can we ask for autographs?
Ask my wife.
Well, that's what we planned to ask, actually.
I actually, after I met with you, I went home and I saw that email come through, and
Excellent.
yeah, that was a pretty nice. It's a nice organization, CCV.
It's great. And speaking of articles, I forgot to mention, and you have it in your packet, I think, that Vermont Magazine did a story on Middlebury, so really nice coverage in their May-June 2017 edition of Middlebury. Multifarious Middlebury.
Multifarious, yes.
I've never seen that.
I liked it.
Well, it's also, just to reemphasize, just the fact, and honor the fact that we are a two-college town. So thanks for bringing that up.
Nothing.
Nothing?
No, I'm
Victor.
perfectly content. Hearing everyone else, yeah.
Perfectly content.
I got the
that
meeting
down.
minutes.
Heather, Kathleen, the Health Task Force survey, could you forward us out the link? Like a forwardable type email? And I hadn't thought of forwarding the link to others, and I had already deleted it once I did it.
I'll do that. They did a nice introductory paragraph and invitation, so I'll forward the whole thing
Well,
to
that'd be great, yeah. I actually got my link through ACDC, so they'd send it out. So is Alan coming tonight to walk us through this?
Yes, he had an earlier appearance in Heinsberg, and so that's why he asked for the 8:30 time slot.
The one time we're running early. Can I ask then, if we've got a little bit of time, I do have a question. It came about when Adam was walking through. If the state supports shifting those funds. If we were able to get some businesses to commit and sign a pledge to paying, say, an annual payment, it'd be interesting to look at what the, if we could borrow, what the payment would be and what we would need to get for pledges. And then we could discuss it and see if the board and town was supportive of that, to just get it done. I've had a number of people approach me, and I think that if they were giving on an annual basis, it would be easier to do than to have one-time donation.
One thing to consider is perhaps we have done, not for this particular type of thing, but for other special projects, we've done like an interfund borrowing where the town signs a promissory note to itself over a term of 5 years at a reasonable interest rate and something like that.
Right, so maybe we could get
Maybe
an
like 5 years or
estimate of what it would take and what it would, so that those vested property owners out there whose employees and are using it could consider it. And it could be done on an optional basis, as we talked about, of mandatory tasks, but maybe we're getting down to the point where it might be something that could be done optionally with a commitment, with a pledge.
Well, one thing to consider is that you probably won't be going to construction. We won't be going to construction next year, and perhaps adding one more year of funding from the capital improvements budget for a portion and making the rest with individual donations, maybe that more doable, feasible.
We're getting close.
So why don't I do a breakdown with both the full $60,000 and a small amount.
That'd be great, thank you. So we're waiting on Alan, right?
Yes,
Alan did ask me to look up what the balance of the Conservation Fund is currently, and as of the end of FY16, the fund balance was $398,611. So this was established roughly in 2005, and we collected 1 cent on the tax rate for many years, and then we were having difficult budget times during the recession, and came up with the idea of working with the Battelle Trust to fund the 1 cent out of the cell tower revenue. They have experienced a reduction in the revenue that they have, so they give the town about $54,000 a year now, and that's how this fund is growing.
So this is essentially 1 year's income from the tower.
That's right. And also in your packet, you'll see that the Planning Commission reviewed this request and endorsed it as well.
But
Both
Nancy's
requests.
signature was extra large on that.
Yeah. I actually know those lots, and they have, especially one of them has got beautiful views of the Adirondacks, and it's very developable land, and to preserve that land would seem to be a really quality preservation.
And so I think Al also wanted to share with you more information about the Vermont Land Trust and their work. And I'm not going to be able to pinch hit for him on that.
Yeah.
Are you here to represent that?
No, but Al asked, I'm Evan Punderson, and I'm the president of the Middlebury Area Land Trust Board. And Al asked if Malt would its support to this request, which we discussed, and Malt does support the request. I think there might have been a time when Malt might be here making the request because Malt itself was doing more of the direct conservation work, and now it's sort of flowing through the Vermont Land Trust because they have the resources and the management ability, and it just makes sense to do it that way. So we're doing less of the direct purchasing of conservation easements, and we're not really even involved with this at all in any way. But Al just thought it might help to, if the board, select board, was aware that Middlebury Area Land Trust supports the use of the conservation funds for these property easement acquisitions, which
Yeah, okay.
It's hard to think of any reason to oppose this. I mean, it seems to me that it's a benefit to the town in the long term, I think. And
Especially both of the parties indicate that if this goes smoothly, they might continue to conserve more, and they have ownership of that tract of land that kind of runs along the ridge.
tangentially, though, one aspect, because of where it's located, we are trying to develop a trail network from town to the national forest, and this could help. So that would be something that Walt is trying to do, and this would fit into that general overall plan. There's nothing. There's not a trail mapped out by any means, but I think the conservation easements generally allow for public trails through them. And if we could connect the pieces, that these are logical properties to get up that way off. So.
Is that section part of that, sort of the connection with the NPS North Country Trail?
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that goes
Well, essentially,
east-west.
yeah, across the country, because a couple years ago, we had a letter from the superintendent requesting endorsement to connect it from, it terminates over at, I guess, at Crown Point right now, and the intent was to carry it through the Long Trail.
Yeah, there's a section now from Tam Trail and Waybridge that heads to Snake Mountain.
Yes.
The Blue Trail, which I think is
Part of that.
part of that.
Well, it's a great time to be on the trails. And the trails are looking great, and I'm grateful to Walt for maintaining the trails that you do. And I saw a lot of people this weekend on the trails, both on their mountain bikes and walking their dogs, and just really enjoying what is a jewel for us in Middlebury. And the more we're connected to the wider network of trails, I think the better it is for us.
Yeah.
And I know that we have an annual event that Malt hosts to celebrate that called the Tam Trek, and I saw that being promoted this weekend at the Maple Run, so that was good. Can you tell us when that is?
Yeah, so that is, it's usually the second weekend in September. Yep, and we're actually trying to make that into a larger event, and make it more of a race. I think this year we're actually hiring a timer, so there'll be an official time for this.
So it's a good half marathon.
It's good, yeah, well, more, it's fun.
Yeah.
I think it just needs, if we promoted it more and got it on the event calendars for runners around New England, I think it would bring a lot of people in. I don't think we want to make it too big, but bigger than it is. And we don't want to get away from, it started out, I think, as more of a walk.
Yeah.
Sort of a family-oriented thing, less of a race. But we want to keep that, but also try to grow it a little bit because it's a revenue source for us and it brings attention to the trail.
Yeah.
So. And by the way, Malt is in the process of looking for a new executive director. Carl stepped down. I don't know if that was
Didn't know that.
really well known, but
He's focused.
Bike shop. It's understandable. So we've been able to. It's a fun time because it's sort of a transition, if you will, for the organization, and looking at new EDs, allowing us to.
So I'll just read the summary that was in your packet to keep us moving along. Alan Karnitz, Champlain Valley Farm Director of the Vermont Land Trust, is seeking the board's support to allocate $55,000 from the Town Conservation Fund in support of the Vermont Land Trust efforts to purchase the development rights for and permanently conserve 2 parcels in Middlebury, owned by 1, Shirley and Joe Huminville, a.k.a. Quarry Road Farms, Inc., and 2, Doug Butler, off Munger Street. The Vermont Land Trust requested Conservation Fund contributions are $25,000 for a 210-acre parcel in the Pomainville Dairy Farm and $30,000 for a 148-acre parcel in the Butler Dairy Farm. Both represent 6 to 7% of the total acquisition cost for each project, which Alan reports is consistent with other land trust, other projects the land trust has been involved in. He further notes that the town's funds will provide the Vermont Land Trust with much-needed leverage when he meets with the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board on June 14th to seek grant funding to purchase the development rights for the 2 projects. And this is Alan.
You're right on time. And
Actually, we were ahead, so we...
Oh, you're a little ahead, so I'm late, actually.
You've got us at, do you support us? But I understand that you also wanted to talk a little bit about your mission, perhaps?
Well, just in general, and also Evan Punderson is here with representing Middlebury Area Land Trust. And I'm here mostly also to answer any of your questions. It sounds like you've walked through the whole applications and our request. And I just feel excited to be able to bring both these projects. I mean, it's unusual that I have 2 at the same time. I mean, we've been working with them for a couple of years now, and it's been quite a while since we last brought a project to you. So this is unusual that they're both coming at the same time. We partner with Middlebury Area Land Trust quite often, and I don't know if Evan, you just want to talk about, from your point of view and Malt, I think that would be.
He already gave us his.
Oh, I am way behind.
We've been filling in as much as we can.
All right, sorry, you were trying to tell me that, I know, and I wasn't quite getting it. Other than, I guess, sounds like you've been quite filled in on it, and I think, talking with Kathleen, understanding the breadth and the scope of what's in the Conservation Fund now, hopefully this works for the town in terms of the amount of the request and these 2 projects. So I am going to the Conservation Board on the 14th of June, and you probably know this, in terms of to request the big grant. Again, so as I've told both Doug and Joel Pominville and Doug Butler, that, any support from the town, there's I think 15 projects in this grant round, which really only happens about once a year. I think there's only funds for about 12 or 13, so there's a couple that will be asked to maybe wait a whole year. So they look for any leverage, any town funds that can add to that pot. They'll be like, yes, this is a great indication. So maybe I should just cut it off there. It sounds like you've had some discussion already.
Well, and we had a pretty thorough reading in the packet for the select board that had been provided for us.
Okay.
So I guess let's just ask, are there any questions, since we have Alan here?
No.
If there are no questions, then
I'll make a motion.
Yes.
Make a motion to authorize the allocation of $25,000 from the Town Conservation Fund in support of a VLT grant application to purchase development rights to and permanently conserve a 210-acre parcel owned by Shirley and Joel Pominville.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. And I'll make another motion to authorize the allocation of $30,000 from the Town Conservation Fund in support of a VLT grant application to purchase development rights to and permanently conserve a 148-acre parcel owned by Doug Butler.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? Aye.
We were just waiting for you.
I guess so. Well, thank you for, now I get the climax.
Kind of fun when that happens.
It does seem to be, we have the money,
Sure.
and they're worthwhile parcels.
Yep.
And we discussed that, and we feel that, we're kind of excited to be able to preserve some of the ag land around Middlebury, so.
Well, thank you very much. And I guess I'll be early next time.
Well, you did a great job with the
We're
packet
done.
information.
Oh, well, we understood that you had another.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I was double booked and got out of there just almost in time. So, okay.
Thank you, Alan.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right.
So with that, I
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Woo-hoo.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you.